Okay, let's dive into this. For, well, millennia, money has been the central organizing principle of our lives, right? It decides who works, who eats, who gets a home, pretty much the whole shebang. But what if it didn't? What would a world actually look like if money wasn't the be-all and end-all? I know it sounds a little like science fiction, but stick with me, because it's a thought experiment that tells us so much about the world we're living in right now.
So here's the fundamental shift we're talking about. Instead of a world organized by price, where the first question is always, can I afford it? Imagine one that's organized around needs and contribution. The questions totally change. They become, what do we as a community really need? And, all right, who's got the skills to help make that happen?
And that brings us to our first section here, moving past money as this ultimate gatekeeper. Because right now, almost every single thing we do has to squeeze through the narrow gate of a financial transaction. This slide really gets to the heart of the issue. Our whole economic system makes tons of essential work socially invisible, just because it doesn't have a price tag. I mean, think about it. Caring for a family member, mentoring a kid in your neighborhood. This is incredibly valuable stuff that our system often doesn't even see, let alone reward. Which leads us straight to our second big idea. What happens when we start valuing things based on what they actually contribute to society, instead of just what they cost? And wow, this table just shows the disconnect perfectly, doesn't it? Things like parenting, community care, mentoring, these are absolutely essential for a healthy society, but our economy, it gives them little to no financial value. A post-money world would flip this completely on its head, recognizing this kind of work as truly central to our well-being. This simple change in the question we ask, it's everything. It changes the entire moral foundation of how we operate. The focus just shifts away from what you can buy as an individual and moves toward our collective well-being and what's actually useful. So you're probably wondering, how would any of this work in the real world? Well, that brings us to section 3. We're going to explore how we could actually humanize the way we exchange things, moving from just cold hard transactions to actual relationships. The core idea here is a concept called mutual credit. Now, this is not simple barter. It's much cooler than that. Think of it more like a community-wide IOU system. When you contribute something useful, the whole network sees you've added value, and you get a credit you can use later. And this isn't just theory. It's already being used in real networks around the world. Let's walk through a simple example. Say you fix your neighbor's bike. Your account gets a credit, and theirs gets a debit. But, and this is the key part, that debit isn't some stressful debt they owe back to you. Nope, it's more like a promise, an invitation for them to contribute something useful back to anyone in the network. The whole thing thrives on trust, and in a community where your reputation actually matters, that social fabric becomes a really powerful reason to pay it forward, keeping the whole system healthy. See how this just changes the entire vibe of an exchange? A money economy is transactional. It often feels zero-sum, right? For me to win, you have to lose. But a mutual credit economy, it's all about cooperation. It's positive sum. The more we all help each other, the richer the entire community becomes. The focus shifts from these temporary, one-off deals to ongoing supportive relationships. Now, I know this might be sounding a little utopian, but it gets really practical when we dig into our fourth section, how a system like this could help end the artificial scarcity that defines our world and unlock the abundance we already have. Just think about the bizarre, frankly absurd contradictions we accept every single day. We have more than enough food, yet people go hungry. We have empty homes, yet people are homeless. This isn't a scarcity of stuff, it's a scarcity of money. Money is acting like an artificial gatekeeper, stopping us from connecting the abundant skills and resources we have with our very real needs. Now, to be super clear, this isn't about pretending we have infinite resources. Of course not. Real physical and ecological limits absolutely exist. The crucial difference is that our decisions will be based on those real limits and on what people actually need, not just on the often irrational chase for financial profit. And all of this leads to the big question, the elephant in the room, which we're going to tackle in our fifth and final section. If money isn't the goal, what on earth actually motivates us to get up in the morning and contribute? I'm sure this question is on your mind. It's the most common objection. And you know what? It's a totally fair one. If you take away the paycheck, does everyone just sit on the couch and do nothing? But the evidence from all over the place overwhelmingly suggests the answer is no.
We are driven by so much more than just money. I mean, just look at the massive global communities that build open source software for free. They're motivated by curiosity, creativity, social recognition, and a shared purpose. A post-money system would simply lean into these powerful, very human drivers that are already inside of all of us.
And hey, this isn't some all-or-nothing, flip-a-switch kind of revolution. The truth is, this transition is already happening in small ways all over the world. You've got timebanks, local cooperatives, those mutual credit networks we just talked about. These are the seeds of a new kind of economy, and they're already growing at the edges of the old one.
So as we start to wrap this up, let's just take a moment and reconsider what wealth even means. We've all been taught to see it as, piling up money or possessions. But maybe true wealth is something else entirely. Maybe it's the strength of our relationships, the resilience of our communities, and the health of the ecosystems that keep us all alive. And that really leads to one last question, a personal one. What does a truly wealthy life look like to you? Thinking beyond a price tag kind of forces us to answer that question a little more honestly, doesn't it?